Hello, welcome to Double Wings. Today's topic is philosophy and theology. Why do I lump philosophy and theology into one topic? Because they're actually one subject. One can say theology is actually a branch of philosophy. The reason I say that is because they have the same premise. Both philosophy and theology, you have to have a starting point. It's a self-evident starting point. For example, Karl Marx has a starting point which he thought was self-evident, which was the economy determines every social interaction. So from that starting point, followed by his logical deduction, he came up with all his communist, socialist, whatever you call it, theories, class warfare, bourgeois, proletarian, etc., etc. Another example is Sigmund Freud. His self-evident starting point is that every human action is motivated by sexual causes or sexual motivation. And then he came up with his theories, followed by a logical deduction from his starting point. So, as you can see, every philosophy has a system, and within that system, it's all logically linked. And if one part has been disproven, then the whole system fell apart. And theology works the same way. You have a starting point which is self-evident to people who study this, which was that God created the world. And from that starting point, through logical deduction, you get all the theories of different religion. In Christianity, for example, the Trinity, Jesus' redemption on the cross for human beings, the original sin, etc. These are all the results from the starting point of God creating the world. So within the frame of theology, to the theologians, the logic is sound to them. Although for someone who is anti-religion, they might disagree with either the starting point or the logical deduction part of the whole system. So this is the difference between philosophy, theology, and science. The philosophy and theology, on the one hand, doesn't require experiment, but they must have strict logic reasoning. That's why whoever majors in philosophy knows that the first course they take is logic. In science, on the other hand, you do experiment, and whatever the results are, that's the results. That's the scientific results, even if it doesn't make logical sense. For example, in medicine, during a double-blind study, you give patients medicine or placebo, and almost always the group that takes placebo does better than the people who didn't take anything. Of course, the people who take the medicine that works does the best, but the people taking placebo is also they get 20-30% better, which makes no logical sense because they got sugar water. They shouldn't feel any better. So people, of course, postulate it's the action of taking something created some mental soothing effect, which caused the patients to feel better. And this placebo effect is quite variable among different individuals. The bottom line is that during a scientific experiment, logic plays a secondary role. So this is the difference between science and the philosophy, theology being a branch of philosophy. Now let's talk about China. Of course, there's no theology in China, but how about philosophy? They are one major philosopher and two minor philosophers, in my opinion, in Chinese history. People might have heard Lao Tzu, which is the inventor of the ubiquitous Tao. If you practice Tai Chi, it's something derived from Tao, or Tao is the Mandarin people say it. Chinese being brainwashed by the communists with atheism tend to view theology and religion, which is based on theology, as feudal superstition, which is kind of a weird term because the Chinese label everything prior to the communists coming to power, that's which is not based on materialism, as a feudal superstition. Even though China hasn't had a feudal system ever since the first emperor. Chinese feudal system ended about 200 BC, and afterwards it has been 2,000 years of absolute monarchy. Even today, in my opinion, it still is. It's fair, I suppose, to label theology and religion superstition if someone insists on that. However, as I explained earlier, if you consider theology as superstition, then you would consider philosophy as a superstition as well, because they kind of work the same way. Thank you for watching my video. Bye.